Hi, I'm Doug Stewart, and today I'm going to talk about testing in Agile. Some work has been done recently in development of Agile testing quadrants that relate to different types of tests that are possible in an Agile environment. It's based on the book by Lisa Crispin and some of the work prior to that by Brian Merrick. This work organizes our thoughts because our tendency in Agile is to test with story tests, and that requires an artificial approach that is not terribly efficient in assuring that we get testing for all of our constraints and compliance and other types of rules that we may have, although it is extremely effective at testing our basic pieces of functionality. So with this approach, it gives us a more balanced view of testing and allows us to provide a product with a higher quality. So first, let's look at a quick view of our requirements, because this is how we're capturing information about the system. And these are the specifications of what our system is supposed to be doing. So let's take a quick look at our requirements. The requirements are what we're going to test against. So before we look at how we're going to test, let's look at what we're going to test. So in Agile, we typically have some sort of hierarchy of information. So we have things around an investment theme, which may have a number of epics. There may be features involved as a slightly different way. They may be used to discover epics, or they may be discovered from epics. And that's really a personal choice for the organization when they're developing their requirements. Basically, we'll always get down to user stories. So that's the base element that we want to get to, because that's what's really in common between our requirements and the work that we're going to perform. Those user stories then are eventually broken into tasks. So based on this information, user stories may be elaborated by business models and use cases. They may be constrained by usability requirements, performance, and other types of non-functional requirements. And so these relationships are going to happen. All of this is good information that we can use in our testing. So if we start to look at the test matrix, so what is our opportunity for tests? We know what we want to test, and it may look like this, it may look slightly different in terms of the hierarchy, but it'll be something along this way. So how are we going to test it? Well, some of the work that Lisa and Brian have done is to divide the view, things that are focused towards the team as opposed to focused towards the product, and things that are focused towards the business as opposed to focused towards the technology. And so this gives us a quadrant approach to the different types of tests that we can do. And so where they intersect, the team and technology intersect with unit tests at the component level of the basics of black box and white box testing of our software pieces. And where technology and product intersect is things like performance and security. Product and business intersect with scenarios and business processes. And the business and team then intersect in things like testing individual stories and doing simulations to help us prove that we are implementing the correct way, sometimes even before we start to implement. So how do you tie these together? So we have a requirements view on one side, and we have the opportunity for testing on the other side. Well, the easiest one to start with is probably what we think of as the lowest level in the hierarchy, is that as we're implementing tasks, we're probably going to test them with unit tests. And as we model use cases, then we'll probably do scenario-based tests. And we may combine those scenarios into usability and user acceptance tests and so on as well. Now, the most obvious one probably here is if we're looking at user stories and their associated story tests. And we can simulate user stories. We can also simulate use cases where the opportunity presents itself. So that leaves us one last area of the quadrant of tests that are an opportunity for us. And we have another area of our requirements model And so those are the logical correlation as well. Now, at Blueprint, not only do we abstract this information so we can communicate to the various people, we also generate tests in each of these areas that we can generate from the Blueprint model, the requirements model in Blueprint. We can generate into a testing tool and use those as ways to jumpstart that effort so that the effort required to hit all of these quadrants is less than it would be if we were trying to manage all of this by hand.